Hello, everybody. Welcome to another psychiatric and mental health nursing lectures. And for today, our topic will be all about psychopathology, etiology, and psychodynamics of substance use disorders. Substance use disorders causes behavioral and physiological changes. It is often associated with the term addiction. Ang addiction ay isang malalang kondisyon kung saan ang tao ay paulit-ulit na gumagamit ng isang klase or iba't ibang klase ng substances, halimbawa, alcohol or alak. It could be drugs or yung mga ipinagbabawal na gamot or droga na kahit na alam niya o alam naman ng individual na gumagamit nito na masama ang epekto sa kanyang kalusugan, sa kanyang relasyon, sa kanyang trabaho, paulit-ulit pa din niya itong tinitake or paulit-ulit pa din niya itong ginagamit. Sa madaling salita, nawawala ang kontrol ng tao kapag gumagamit ng mga substances na nabanggit natin. Let's say for example, isang estudyante na nagsimula lang uminom ng alak tuwing may birthday party or mayroong okasyon, pero kalaunan ay hindi na makatulog or hindi na siya makapag-focus sa kanyang pag-aaral kapag hindi siya umiinom ng alak. So that could be an example how addiction sometimes happen to a person or to an individual. Now, sabi natin, nagdudulot ng behavioral changes ang mga substances or nagkakaroon ng pagbabago sa pag-uugali ang isang tao kapag siya nakakaranas ng paggamit ng mga substances na nabanggit natin. Na itong mga to, yung pagbabago sa kanyang asal, sa kanyang pag-uugali, ay dahil sa paggamit or pag-inom ng mga substances. Maaaring maging irritable or madaling mairita ang isang taong patuloy sa pag-inom or paggamit ng mga substances o kaya naman madaling magalit. So, or let's say, nagiging mapanlin lang o kaya naman nagsisinungaling patungkol sa mga pag-inom or pag-take ng mga substances na nabanggit natin. Maaari din ang mga behavioral changes niya ay mauwi sa walang interest sa dating mga kinahihiligan niya o mga roles or responsibilities na dapat gampanan niya. So, nawawala na yung kanyang motivation to do those roles and perform those responsibilities. Pagdating naman sa physiological changes, ito naman yung mga pagbabago sa mismong katawan ng pasyente natin. Pwedeng ito ay isang klase ng physical na pagbabago dahil na rin sa pag-inom ng mga substances. Ang substance use disorders ay associated din sa mga terminologies tolerance and withdrawal. For tolerance, sinasabi natin dito, ito yung sitwasyon na kailangan ng mas mataas na dose para maramdaman ng isang individual yung epekto ng substance na tinitake niya. Ibig sabihin, kung kinakailangan na ng mataas na dose, mas marami na yung iinumin or itatake niya para ma-reach niya yung level na maramdaman niya yung epekto ng substance sa kanyang katawan. Pag sinabi mo namang withdrawal, ito naman kapag biglang tumigil, let's say for example, ng isang individual sa either pag-inom or pag-take ng substances, lumalabas yung iba't ibang signs and symptoms katulad ng panginginig, pagpapawis, or pagkabalisa sa kanya kasi hindi siya nakaka-take, hindi siya nakakainom ng substances. Pwede din itong mag-lead into what we call organ damage. Halimbawa, yung ating atay or yung ating liver, pwedeng makaranas ng tinatawag nating sakit or kondisyon, liver cirrhosis, dahil nga sa labis-labis na pag-inom ng alak or pag-take ng substances. Ang substance disorder ay hindi lamang simpleng bisyo na ginagawa ng isang tao. Ito ay isang klase ng karamdaman o sakit na may epekto pagdating sa pag-iisip, pagdating sa pag-uugali, at pati na rin sa mismong katawan ng isang ng isang tao or ng isang pasyente. Mahalaga ang role natin mga nurses sa pag-identify ng mga signs and symptoms, sa pagbibigay ng tamang education or tamang edukasyon sa mga apektadong individual at pagsuporta pagdating sa rehabilitation ng ating patients under this type of mental disorder. Now, substance dependence refers to a pattern of repeated use of a substance which usually results in tolerance, withdrawal symptoms, or compulsive drug-taking behavior. Ito din, klase substance dependence na naoobserbahan ng mga healthcare professionals or ng mga nurses na ang isang individual, for them to achieve the effects of the substance that they are taking, mas madalas kinakailangan nila ng large amounts or mas maraming doses or dosages yung kinakailangan nila. And at the same time, they are using or taking the substances over longer periods of time. There is a desire to cut down, but efforts to decrease or discontinue the use of the substance are very unsuccessful. Nagkakaroon naman sila ng kagustuhan na itigil na yung paggamit ng kung anumang substance na ginagamit nila. But then again, nahihirapan silang bawasan man lamang until such na itigil na talaga nila yung pag-inom or paggamit ng whatever substance na nagde-depend sila. The daily activities revolve around the use of a substance. Bahagi ng kanilang pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay ang paggamit ng substances na to. It could be an alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be medications or painkillers, very strong painkillers, or it could be other chemicals or substances na nagde-depend sila doon because of the effect na dinadala nito sa kanilang buhay or sa kanilang sarili. Now, for a nurse to determine the individual's dependence on a substance, the nurse must perform assessment, and for the nurse to do this, there are specific screening tools to utilize. Isa na nga dito yung tinatawag nating Michigan Alcohol Screening Test or MAST or MAST, na ito ay isa sa mga widely used questionnaire with 24 to 25 questions that will be answered yes or no, na it is designed to determine alcohol dependence and related problems. So basically, MAST is intended for those alcoholic individuals. Ito ay mahaba at mas detalyado ang konseptong nakalagay or nakasulat sa type ng screening tool na ito. And ito ay ginagamit for clinical interviews and also utilized as part of the research screening tests na ginagamit for us to help determine solutions for certain problems. Apart from MAST, we also have DAST or the Drug Abuse Screening Test. Ito naman ay isang klase ng self-report instrument designed to identify problems related to drug use. But for the DAST, please be careful and please be reminded, this excludes alcohol and tobacco. DAST is useful for clinical, research, and community settings. Now, CAGE can also be used as part of the assessment screening tools. CAGE stands for Cut Down, Annoyed, Guilty, and Eye-Opener, na kung saan ito ay isang mabilis, apat na question test used to detect possible alcohol or drug use problems. So, the cut down, this refers to the question, have you ever felt you should cut down on your drinking? And for the annoyed, have people annoyed you by criticizing your drinking? For the guilty part, have you ever felt bad or guilty about your drinking? And for the eye opener, have you ever had a drink first thing in the morning to steady your nerves or get rid of a hangover? So that's what CAGE screening tool is all about. Ganun kasimple, ganun kabilis, but this will still help detect possible alcohol or drug use problem of an individual. Now, substance tolerance naman is defined as the need for increased amount of the substance to achieve the desired effect. Ito yung kanina pa nating nabanggit na ang isang tao iinom at iinom at iinom kahit gaano pa kadami ng isang alak or ng isang alcoholic beverage until such maramdaman na niya yung epekto nito sa kanyang katawan. So when it comes to substance tolerance, the volume, the quantity of the chemical or the substance is in large volume, in large amount para ma-achieve lamang yung desired effect nito. Now, substance withdrawal naman, on the other hand, is a physiological and substance-specific cognitive symptoms. Ito yung mga nararanasang senyales o sintomas ng isang tao kapag bigla-bigla niyang itinitigil ang pag-inom or ang pag-take ng isang substance or chemical. Ito nangyayari kasi ang nararanasan ng tao is bumabagsak or bumababa sa blood level niya yung substance na tong substance na to, the individual is physiologically dependent. So, nakadepend yung pasyente natin with this type of substance. Let's say, for example, alcohol or alak. Hindi siya nakainom, so then, may pagbaba or pagbagsak ng levels of alcohol in the blood levels of the patient. So, dito pumapasok yung signs and symptoms na nararanasan niya. Now, it could be in the form of panginginig or tremors, it could be pagpapawis, or it could be a diaphoresis, or mga iba't iba pang klase ng withdrawal symptoms. Later, I will show to you a table where specific substances, no, what are those identified withdrawal and intoxication signs and symptoms na pwedeng maranasan ng isang tao. Now, there are also 4 different other factors to consider in a client with a substance-related disorder. Number 1, there could be an association with rebellion and peer group pressure among adolescents or teenagers that may contribute to the onset of substance use. It could be, number 2, substance use may become a coping mechanism used to decrease a physical or an emotional pain. Number 3, it could be an association with depression that may precede or occur because of an association with substance use. And lastly, it could be out of grief and loss, which can be connected with the utilization or taking of alcohol or any form of chemical or substances. Now, there are also identified dysfunctional behaviors related to substance use. So, ano-ano naman yung nakikita nating pagbabago sa pag-uugali ng isang taong may problema when it comes to taking substances like alcohol and drugs. Number 1, preoccupation with obtaining and using substance. Preoccupation with obtaining and using substances. Number 2, manipulation to avoid consequences of behavior, impulsiveness, anger that it could be transformed into a physical or verbal abuse, avoidance of relationships outside family units. It could also be relationships within the family becoming dysfunctional as the children take on a typical roles to protect the family unit. Pwede din itong sense of self-importance and requiring special treatment, denial, which means they are blaming everything but the substance use for problems, use of rationalization and projection to justify an acceptable behavior. It could be low self-esteem, depression, and yung isang terminology associated with dysfunctional behavior, what we call codependency. Ang codependency is a presence of a coexisting behaviors present with the significant others nung taong addict or alcoholic. Ibig sabihin, The significant other covers no all the responsibility all the actions of the addict or the alcoholic being an irresponsible person. Halimbawa, let's say for example sa codependency, yung addict na huli, nakulong, dinampot ng kinauukulan, ikinulong. So, what will the significant others will do? Ang gagawin niya, papiyansahan niya or ilalabas niya mula sa pagkakakulong yung partner niya or yung spouse niya or yung family member niya na ikinulong, na gumawa ng krimen, na nalululong sa masamang bisyo. Or let's say for example, yung alcoholic niyang spouse, not working at all, not attending to his responsibility as head of the family. So, ang ginagawa nung asawang babae, codependent, siya yung nagbabayad ng bills, siya yung nagpo-provide ng food for the family, siya yung nag-a-attend sa iba pang needs ng mga anak. So basically, yung alcoholic niyang spouse, alcoholic na asawang lalaki, all responsibilities and the role as a head of the family are already dependent to the asawang babae. So that's what codependency is all about. Well, all of these are obvious dysfunction within the behavior of a person related to a substance use disorder. Now, there is also what we call alcohol use disorder. Under kasi ng substance use disorders could be the specific substances and also an alcohol use problem. Now, alcohol is a chemical. Alcohol is a substance that causes CNS depression. Alcohol is a material. Alcohol is a liquid that can penetrate the blood-brain barriers, affecting now the neurons or affecting now the brain tissues natin. Kaya nakakapagpababa, nakakapagpabagal, nakakapagpahina siya ng function ng central nervous system. There is a development of what we call physical dependence pagdating sa paggamit or pag-inom ng alak or ng alcohol. Ito yung tinatawag nating biological need for alcohol to avoid physical withdrawal symptoms. The psychological dependence naman, dito pumapasok naman yung cravings for the subjective effect of the alcohol. So, let's differentiate the two ulit. For the physical dependence, the person is taking or drinking alcohol, it's because the person feels the withdrawal symptoms, the signs and symptoms. Ito yung panginginig, pagpapawis yan, or iba pang mga nararanasan niya within his or her body. Pagdating naman sa psychological dependence, the person is craving, looking for an alcohol kasi they want the effect of the alcohol. Let's say, pinapakalma sila ng alcohol, nawawala yung problema or yung kalungkutan or depression nila while they are taking alcohol. So basically, it's all about the effects of the alcohol affecting their emotion, affecting their psychological aspect. There are several risk factors when it comes to the alcohol use disorders. Isa na dito yung tinatawag nating biological predisposition. Pag sinabi mong biological aspect, may kinalaman to with the person's DNA, genetics. May kinalaman with familial predisposition na kung ang parents, either the father or the mother is an alcoholic, high chances that it could also be part of their DNA na ipasa sa kanila ng kanilang mga magulang. Next could be out of depression and highly anxious characteristic. Sabi nga natin, there is what we call a psychological dependence. And this could be the risk factor bakit hinahanap-hanap nila yung alak sa kanilang sistema. Low self-esteem. There is a poor self-control, history of rebelliousness, so may kinalaman pagdating sa pressure out of the peer pressure, may kinalaman sa pressure ng mga kaibigan, poor school performance and delinquency. There is also a very not so good parental relationships. And as we assess an individual with alcohol use disorders, ang mga nakikita natin or maaaring makikita nating signs and symptoms could be, number one, slurred speech, uncoordinated movements. Meron din tayong nakikitaan na unsteady gait, restlessness, confusion. Yung iba, what they do, they sneak drinks. Ibig sabihin, kagising pa lang nila sa umaga, umiinom na agad sila ng alak. Or yung iba naman, as they sneak drinks, nakakaranas sila ng mga blackouts. Binge drinking, arguments about drinking, madalas nakikipagtalo, nakikipag-away as per to how many bottles na yung na-consume nila, gaano na kadami yung volume na nainom nila, avoiding responsibilities such as work or sometimes school. It can also increase tolerance to alcohol and worst case scenario, intoxication. Now, intoxication nurses can only be determined or identified kapag yung tinatawag nating BAC or the blood alcohol content is about 0.1%. That is equivalent, guys, to 100 milligrams of alcohol per deciliter of blood or greater than, maaaring greater than pa. Part of the assessment needs to include then class. Please take note of this. It's not included in the presentation, but we also have to know the type of alcohol. Ano ba yung klase ng ininom niyang alak? Is it gin, vodka? Is it beer? Is it wine? So things like that. How much? Gaano kadami? How many glasses? How many ml or gaano kadaming volume? Gaano katagal? And kailan yung huling consumption niya? Kailan yung huling inom niya? So those could be the different questions then that we have to consider as we assess our patients. Type of alcohol, how much, for how long, and when was the last consumed or when is the last consumption. Now, for the psychological symptoms, it could be problems affecting the emotion and behavior of the individual. May maiobserbahan tayong depression. It could be an irritable mood, belligerent, or hostile. There could be suspiciousness, rationalization, isolation, decrease in inhibitions and in self-esteem. Denial can also be part of the problem that exists. Pagdating naman sa complications associated with chronic alcohol use, one of the problems or other medical condition na pwedeng mag-arise, it could be deficiencies with the vitamins, no, in the person or in the individual. It could be a vitamin B deficiency that may lead to peripheral neuropathies, thiamine deficiency, which is your Korsakoff syndrome, an alcohol-induced persistent amnestic disorder, problems pertaining to severe memory loss, or Wernicke's encephalopathy. Ito namang Wernicke's encephalopathy may let our clients experience confusion, ataxia, and there could be an abnormal eye movement as well. Now, since alcohol is a substance na dumadaan at sinasala sa ating atay, hepatitis and liver cirrhosis can also be a problem. It can also be part of the complication. For the digestive system naman, of course, as we drink those significant volume of alcohol, dadaan din ito sa ating oral area, sa ating lalamunan, sa esophagus at sa ating bituka. That's why clients also or may also experience complications such as esophagitis, gastritis. There could also be problems such as pancreatitis, anemia, dysfunction of the immune system, and since alcohol can penetrate the CNS, brain damage may be evident, peripheral neuropathy, and cardiac disorders. Now, let's talk about alcohol withdrawal. Alcohol withdrawal is also a disorder. It's a problem na ang nararanasan dito ng individual, it's an abrupt cessation, abrupt discontinuation of chronic alcohol use that results to an overactivity of the central nervous system. Early signs develop within the few hours pagkatapos huminto ng pasyente sa pag-inom ng alak or huminto ng individual sa pag-inom ng alak. Ito sometimes nagpipeak between 24 to 48 hours after the alcohol withdrawal. And it rapidly disappear unless na nag-progress ito dun sa tinatawag na nating alcohol withdrawal delirium. There could be severe and life-threatening symptoms as well na pwede ding ikamatay ng tao kapag hindi natin naagapan yung mga signs and symptoms na napakita ng tao out of this type of disorder or symptom. That's why it is important to use CIWA as the assessment screening tool. CIWA stands for the Clinical Institute Withdrawal Assessment of Alcohol Scale para ma-identify agad natin yung mga significant signs and symptoms at maiwasan ang further complications. Now, there is what we call delirium tremens. Delirium tremens or the alcohol withdrawal delirium, ang nararanasan ng individual or ng tao could be the following. There is an agitation, anorexia, anxiety, delirium, diaphoresis, disorientation with fluctuating levels of consciousness, fever, hallucinations and delusions, insomnia, even tachycardia and hypertension. Now, for the nurses, responsibility, no, it's a must that we assess patients suffering with alcohol withdrawal. And part of our assessment will be the following. So, observe for any of the following: hypertension and tachycardia, nausea and vomiting, tremors, at mas common ang tremors na nakikita within the hands of an individual, sweating, there is anxiety, agitation. Minsan may nakikita tayong mga tactile disturbances. It could be itching, pins and needles, sensations, numbness, even burning sensations. Disturbances affecting the eyes and the ears for visual and auditory problems or disturbances, headache, and disorientation. Now, withdrawal delirium, this is a condition that we can consider as a medical emergency that can occur out of a withdrawal delirium kasi this may happen from a myocardial infarction, kaya pwedeng ikamatay ito ng pasyente. It could be a presence of a fat emboli, a peripheral vascular collapse, imbalance within the fluid and electrolytes. It could be out of an aspiration pneumonia or worst case scenario, pag hindi naagapan ang mood problems, may lead to suicide. Now, let's talk about the recommended interventions for those individuals experiencing alcohol withdrawal. First, nurses must administer medications as prescribed. It's important to provide care in a non-judgmental manner, and we have to frequently check the client's health status from time to time. Monitor vital signs and the neurological signs. The suggestion is every 15 minutes. Kaya nga we have to frequently check our clients. Provide a one-to-one supervision. Monitor the serum electrolytes, specifically the glucose and the magnesium levels. Provide a quiet, non-stimulating environment. Encourage a family member to stay with the client to lessen the anxiety na nararamdaman or nararanasan ng client natin. Orienting the client as well as their next of kin frequently is also recommended. Explain all treatments or medical or nursing interventions, even the procedures na gagawin sa pasyente in a quiet and simple manner. Yung madaling maintindihan at yung mas mauunawaan ng mga taong kausap natin, especially the client. Initiate seizure precautions because there could be tendencies of seizure attacks. Provide small, frequent, high carbohydrate foods. Administer antiemetic medications before meals. This is only for as needed cases. monitor intake and output of your client, assist with ADLs or activities of daily living, and assist with ambulation if your client is stable to stand up and move around the ward or within the room. Allow the client to express the anxiety or fear or apprehension na nararamdaman niya. Now, it's important for nurses to know how to deal with client who uses substances. Now, these are the following important concepts or aspects. What are you going to do if you will be the nurse responsible to look after a patient suffering from substance use disorder? Number one, direct the client's focus to the substance use disorder. You have to identify situations or life events that precipitate anger feelings with the client. Set limits on manipulative behavior and verbal or even physical abuse. Mas lalo na if there are aggressive behavior na pinapakita na ni client natin. Hold the client firmly. Hold the client firmly and let them understand that he or she is accountable to reasonable limits. Consistently reinforce rules with reasonable consequences for breaking protocols or guidelines or regulations. Hold the client accountable for all his or her behaviors. Use motivational interviewing to assist the client to explore strengths and weaknesses. Encourage group therapy and support groups, or sometimes even individual therapy can also be useful. Now, pagdating naman sa iba't ibang klase ng therapies na magiging kapaki-pakinabang sa mga clients diagnosed with substance use disorders, this could be the following. There could be several psychotherapies na pwede nating gamitin or several interventions na pwede nating i-implement sa kanila. One is the behavioral therapy. Behavioral therapy, dito nakapaloob itong tinatawag nating CBT or the cognitive behavioral therapy na kung saan nare-reinforce natin yung positive and negative behavior among our clientele, the reward and punishment concept. Hospitalization may be necessary, most importantly, if the client is experiencing aggressive behaviors or mga manipulative behaviors. Different psychotherapies that includes individual therapy, group therapy, and even the family therapy can also be advantageous. And we can also implement different 12-step support groups. Ito na yung involvement or yung involvement ng iba pang individuals also suffering from the same problem, substance use disorder, but it could be groups no pertaining to certain individuals na kung ano yung talagang ginagamit nilang substance. Let's say for those with alcohol or yung mga Alcoholic Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, those depending themselves with narcotic substances, Pills Anonymous, Al-Anon, Alatin, and even adult children of alcoholics. Pwede din nating gamitan or pwede din nating i-involve yung clients natin into what we call transitional living programs to help them start a new life, for us to help them stand again, and para matulungan ulit natin silang ma-regain and ma-establish ulit yung kani-kanilang mga buhay. Now, let's move on to what we call drug dependencies. Now, for the drug dependencies, this will be several medications, several substances or drugs na pwedeng magkaroon ng epekto sa tao kapag napapasobra ang pag-take ng mga klase ng chemicals na to. It's because of the effect na dinudulot nito sa kanyang katawan, sa kanyang sarili. Now, let's begin with CNS depressants. CNS depressants are medications. Madalas ito ginagamit natin, itong chemicals na to help our client suppress or calm down, kagaya ng mga tinatawag nating anti-anxiety drugs. That could be your benzodiazepines or your barbiturates. Pero pwede din under CNS depressants ang chemical or substance of course, what we know to be the alcohol. Now, this could also be your medications that will help depress or suppress the function of our brain. It could act as a sedative, or it could also act as a hypnotic or may hypnosis effect siya sa tao. There will be a series, or there will be a list of intoxication and withdrawal signs and symptoms, which I will show you after this slide. And pagdating naman sa overdose, kapag ang individual napasarap ng take ng CNS depressants, maaari siyang makaranas ng mga problema affecting the cardiovascular and the cardiopulmonary system of our client. Pwede din itong mag-lead into serious patient condition such as coma, shock, seizure, or worst case scenario, pwedeng ikamatay ng tao kapag napapasobra ang pag-inom or ang paggamit niya ng CNS depressants. Now, there are individuals na they're taking CNS depressants if case-to-case basis na sila ay conscious and they are awake. If that will happen, or if that will be the case, maaaring magkaroon ng induced vomiting, makaranas ng induced vomiting ang client natin. And for us to correct that, we can give or we can administer activated charcoal as part of the intervention or the management. If the patient, if the patient class is comatose, let's say for example, they utilize CNS depressant and they lead to comatose, na coma yung patient natin, we have to, number one, prioritize the airway of the client, establish and maintain the airway of the client. We can also do a gastric lavage with activated charcoal para ma-save agad natin yung client natin at alis agad natin yung chemical or yung substance within the body or within the system of your client. For client who are already comatose, kailangan natin seizure precaution, because this can also lead to seizure attacks. And if there will be overdose of anti-anxiety drug, which is your benzodiazepines, we can administer the antidote, which is the flumazenil. This could be administered via intravenous route. Flumazenil is the drug of choice. Okay? So that could be your CNS depressants. Withdrawal must be treated with a carefully titrated similar drug, and withdrawal from CNS depressants generally treated with a phenobarbital, an example of your barbiturate classification. Class, CNS depressants, kagaya nga ng mga nabanggit nating examples of substances, and that includes alcohol, your anti-anxiety medications, benzodiazepines, and barbiturates. Itong mga gamot na to, or itong mga chemicals na to, they act by slowing down brain or neurological activity. At ito, the action that they are doing inside our head, inside our central nervous system, is to enhance the effect of GABA. GABA, one of the neurotransmitters na ito ang ginagawa is inhibitory effect. This is the brain's main inhibitory neurotransmitter. So ano magiging resulta? There will be relaxation, there could be episodes of sedation, decreased anxiety, but at the same time, nurses, this will also impair coordination and judgment of a certain individual receiving this type of medication. Now, let's discuss first the intoxication. Ang intoxication, kung tatagalogin natin, ito ang nararanasan ng individual is kumbaga parang may pagkalasing or may tinatawag na overdose effect, na kapag sobra ang intake ng CNS depressants, pwedeng mangyari ang mga sumusunod. There could be drowsiness. Dahil sa sobrang taas ng level ng GABA, bumabagal ang brain signals. Kaya nakakaranas ng drowsiness effect ang ating patients. What about hypotension? Hypotension can also be experienced because this is a depressant effect sa tinatawag nating autonomic nervous system, ang pagbaba ng blood pressure. For the impairment of memory, attention, and judgment, ito, the suppression happen within the frontal lobe of the brain. Kaya, nagiging mabagal or hindi maganda ang decision-making skills or activity ng individual. Unsteady gait and slurred speech may also happen because the affected part of the brain will be or could be the cerebellum or yung motor coordination side or aspect ng patient natin. Irritability may also be observed kasi it is the paradoxical effect na kung saan ang nangyayari kasi imbalance ang levels ng mga neurotransmitters natin. Kaya nurses or class, always remember, intoxication is a too much depressant activity na ang nagiging resulta, bumabagal ang the rest of the body system's function. Punta naman tayo on the other side, all about the withdrawal process. Ang withdrawal process naman, ito kung tatagalugin natin, kapag biglang itinigil or in-stop natin yung pag-take or yung pagbibigay ng substance to an individual or to a person after dependence. Dito ang nangyayari, kung matagal nang gumagamit or umiinom ng CNS depressant ang patient natin, the brain adapts by reducing the natural GABA activity. Without kasi the CNS depressant, our brain naturally secretes GABA, the main inhibitory neurotransmitters natin. But then again, the substance or the chemical introduced to the body, kaya nagkaroon ng tinatawag nating dependence. Now, what will happen kapag bigla nating itinigil? There could be the following signs and symptoms, such as nausea and vomiting. It could also be tachycardia and diaphoresis. Ito yung mga nagiging rebound, hyperactivity ng autonomic nervous system natin. Kasi nga, biglang itinigil yung supply ng CNS depressant, ng chemical, ng substance, synthetic forms of substances now giving synthetic forms of GABA. Anxiety, irritability, tremors, and insomnia, this could happen because the brain is overexcited dahil nga wala na ang depressant effect na pinanggagalingan, which is the substance, which is the CNS depressant. Seizure can also happen, can also be observed. At ang seizure, ito yung pinaka-dangerous out of all the out of all the signs and symptoms of withdrawal. Bakit ito yung pinaka-dangerous? Kasi dito nagpapakita ng imbalance ng excitatory neurotransmitters natin. At dito, class, please take note, the one that we're looking at is the levels of the glutamate. Glutamate is also part of the neurotransmitters. Ano yung imbalance na sinasabi? Imbalance versus your glutamate and your GABA. So, ibig sabihin, may imbalance with the excitatory at inhibitory neurotransmitters natin. Withdrawal are the signs and symptoms manifesting because of the manifesting within individuals, and these are opposite of the intoxication. So, ang nangyayari, instead of slowing down, that's the mechanism of action of CNS depressants, ang nangyayari, the brain becomes hyperactive instead. Kasi nga, itinigil natin basta yung pagbibigay ng CNS depressants, no substance. Nurses, it is very important that as you face or as you deal with your clients, importante na maipaliwanag mo yung tinatawag na drug dependence cycle. Now, the drug dependence cycle has 4 different phases. Una, yung initial use. Sa initial use, yung tao yung individual, may introduction ng substance sa kanya, may paggamit ng substance na dito ang nakukuha or ang nakakamit niya is the relaxation, the relief. Let's say the discomfort nawawala, yung anxiety, yung fear and apprehension bumababa or natatanggal natin. Kaya nagkakaroon ng urgency or ng want na gusto niyang gamitin yung substance. That there is the initial use. Kasi nakaranas siya ng relief, nakaranas ng relaxation. Until such, the next part of the cycle will be now the tolerance. Guys, please write this down. I will repeat. The first phase is the initial use. The second one is what we call now the tolerance. Tolerance, this is the part na kung saan there is a need for more dose to achieve the same effect. Ibig sabihin, para mas maramdaman ko yung relaxation, mas maramdaman ko yung relief, I will need additional or extra doses para mas mabilis yung epekto, para mas mabilis akong ma-relax. Then, here comes the development of the dependence. Dependence is the third phase. For the dependence, now the body adapts and the body can no longer or cannot function normally now without the drug, without the presence or the administration of the drug, such as the CNS depressants, until magyari or mag-develop na yung tinatawag nga nating withdrawal, na kung saan sa withdrawal, yung biglang pagtigil na ng paggamit ng substance, na kung saan ang nagiging manifestations among individuals are severe signs and symptoms kasi nga there is now the absence of the levels of chemicals or drugs sa body system ng isang individual. Kaya, guys, class, isipin ninyo ang CNS depressants, they are the substances, they are the drugs that will slow down the central nervous system, the brain function, na if tanggalin natin tong substance na to, there could be a possibility of a rebound within our brain activity, kaya ito naman nagiging hyperactive. Kaya lumalabas itong mga na-enumerate nating withdrawal signs and symptoms. Now, apart from CNS depressants, there are also what we call CNS stimulants. CNS stimulants, this includes your amphetamines, your cocaine, or yung tinatawag nating mga crack, mga substances natin. There are also list or a table pertaining to the intoxication and withdrawal after this slide. But when it comes to overdosing CNS stimulants, a person may experience complications or worst case scenarios within their health status, and it could be a respiratory distress, it could be ataxia, it could be hyperpyrexia, seizure, yung iba nakakaranas ng coma, stroke, or complications such as myocardial infarction. It's very important that the nurses are knowledgeable how to attend to these overdose effects ng CNS stimulants, and the individual or the patients may benefit from administering antipsychotics, and for us to improve the health status of the client, we can manage them based on whatever effect or whatever condition yung maramdaman or mananasan ng client. So, management ng mga effects na nabanggit natin could also be helpful. For withdrawal naman, of course, the treatment can be medications such as your antidepressants, your dopamine agonists, and that could be your bromocriptine. Pero pwede ding maging advantageous yung mga supportive therapies or interventions natin, especially for those experiencing severe depression and suicidal ideation. For the CNS stimulants naman, importante nurses that you're aware with the mechanism of action ng CNS stimulants in our body. By the way, examples of CNS stimulants, drugs, or substances, though nabanggit na nga natin kanina that these are our amphetamines, these are our methamphetamine, cocaine, even caffeine class also classified under the category of CNS stimulants. Gaya nga ng nabanggit natin, the action of these substances in our body is they help increase dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin activities or levels sa ating katawan. Kaya nagkakaroon or nagiging hyper ang brain at ang body system natin. So ano nagiging epekto? Ano ang nagiging resulta? There could be heightened alertness, there could be increased energy, Nakakaramdam ng euphoria or sobra-sobrang kaligayahan, kagalakan, ang nangingibabaw na emotion or pakiramdam ng tao. Pero, risk din sa paranoia at cardiovascular problems ang tao kapag napapasobra ng CNS stimulants. Now, for the intoxication effects or nagkakaroon ng overstimulation sa central nervous system, kapag napadami ang stimulant intake natin or CNS stimulant drug intakes, maaaring makaranas ng dilation ng pupils. Ito ay isang epekto na kung saan the sympathetic nervous system is highly activated. Euphoria, it's because of the surge ng dopamine. Kaya yung nararamdaman ng pasyente, ang emotion niya is at the high level, naha-high yung pakiramdam niya. High as in HIGH. Hypertension and tachycardia. This pertains to the increased levels of norepinephrine na siyang nagpapataas ng blood pressure at ng heart rate. Remember, norepinephrine is your neurotransmitters that enters your alpha receptors. Kaya nagkakaroon ng vasoconstriction effect or yung increased cardiac contractility natin. Impaired judgment because the overstimulation happened in the frontal lobe. Always remember that when it comes to the judgment, it will always be the frontal lobe part of our brain affected. Kaya may mga nangyayaring impulsive decisions. The paranoia, delusions, and hallucinations naman, this could be the psychotic-like symptoms na pwedeng maranasan ng tao, and that is due to the imbalance of dopamine sa brain or within the CNS of our client. Agitation and cardiac dysrhythmia naman, these are out of sobrang excitatory signals, kaya delikado para sa cardiovascular ng client natin. Kaya class, nursing students, think of intoxication as everything is speed up, na kung saan lahat pinapabilis niya, and that includes the mind, the body, even the emotion or the feelings of an individual. Now, let's discuss the withdrawal. Withdrawal naman, ito pinatutukuyan niya yung, kumbaga parang crash after the dependence. Ito, kapag biglang in-stop or itinigil natin yung CNS stimulants after chronic use, pwedeng mag-result into the following. Sabi nga natin, it may result to fatigue or even hypersomnia because the brain is exhausted after prolonged hyperactivity. Pwede ding magkaroon ng mga vivid nightmares and insomnia naman ang client natin kasi ang nagkaroon ng imbalance is the sleep and wake cycle ng patient natin. Anxiety and agitation can be present. This because of the rebound effect kasi kulang na yung levels ng norepinephrine at dopamine natin. Depression and the suicidal ideation naman, ito dahil dun sa pag-deplete or dopamine depletion, kung tawagin natin, ito yung crash sa mood or sa behavior naman ng client natin. Now, for the withdrawal, nursing students, these are obviously the opposite of the intoxication. So kung kanina, in the intoxication, there is a hyperactivity or hyper or high ang mga nagiging effects sa client natin, with the opposite withdrawal effects, it could be a sluggish or emotionally unstable ang patient or ang client natin. Now, kung ibabangga natin with the dependence cycle sa CNS stimulant, gaya nga ng nabanggit ko kanina, for the first or the initial use, nakita kasi ng patient or ng tao yung alertness, yung confidence, yung energy. Kaya nagkaroon siya ng need, nagkaroon siya ng want to take CNS stimulant because those are the effects. I will repeat. You may write this down. The alertness, the confidence, and the energy. But then again, pagdating naman sa cycle or sa phase ng tolerance, kinakailangan niya ng higher doses for the person to receive or experience the same effect. But now, dependence happen, so the brain adapts, all those natural dopamine production decreases, kaya pagdating sa withdrawal phase, a severe crash ang nararanasan ng patient kasi bigla nating ititigil or i-stop ang pag-take ng CNS stimulants. Now, for you to remember all about the CNS stimulants as part of the drug dependency, these are the one that causes fast forward, hyper, high, na kapag nawala na ito, the brain rebounds. So once the brain rebounds, there could be slow motion crash na pwedeng maranasan ng tao. Now, let's move on to opioids. Opioids class are also part of those substances na pwedeng mag-lead to drug dependency. This includes chemicals or substances such as opium, heroin, meperidine, morphine, codeine, methadone, hydromorphone, oxycodone, and even fentanyl. Now, of course, there are also reported intoxication and withdrawal signs and symptoms. But for the overdose of opioids, this could lead the client into what we call respiratory distress, shock, coma, and seizure. Withdrawal assessment is very important, and nurses, for us to do this, we can implement COWS. COWS is one of the tools or scaling tools na pwede nating gawin. This stands for Clinical Opiate Withdrawal Scale. O let us first again identify the effects or the actions, the mechanism of actions ng opioids in our body. Though we already identified what are those drugs or substances under this classification, itong mga gamot na to, once they are in our system, they bind to what we call opioid receptors in our brain. So anong ginagawa nun kapag nandun na sila sa utak natin, sa central nervous system natin? They block the pain signals. Take note of that. Opioids block the pain signals. Therefore, pinapataas nila yung release ng dopamine levels in our brain. Kaya nagkakaroon ng analgesic effect or analgesia o kaya naman euphoria yung nararanasan ng iba. Nga lang, kapag ito napasobra, nagiging dangerous to in our respiratory system kasi it may lead to a cardiopulmonary depression or respiratory depression. Napakadelikado kapag naparami ang bigay natin ng opioids in our client or kapag napadami ang gamit ng patients natin ng substance na to. For the intoxication or the overdose effect, kapag napasobra ang opioids, it could lead to meiosis. Constriction of the pupils, medical term for this is meiosis. That is a hallmark sign. Ito kasi, it's a stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system. Take note of that, guys. Nagkakaroon ng stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system. That's why pupils of our patients are becoming constricted. Bradypnea and hypotension. This could be the suppression of the brainstem na kung saan nandoon ang tinatawag nating control sa respiratory system. That is our cardiopulmonary center. Kaya bumabagal ang paghinga at the same time, bumabagsak ang blood pressure ng client. Drowsiness and psychomotor retardation because of a central nervous system slowing na bumabagal ang pagkilos at pag-iisip ng client natin. For the impaired memory and slurred speech, ito naman nangyayari kasi apektado motor coordination and frontal lobe area of our client. So again, for you to recall the intoxication of opioids, everything will slow down. Everything will slow down. It could be the breathing, the blood pressure, the cognition, and even the movement of your client. So, opposite ulit tayo pagdating sa usapin naman ng withdrawal. Guys, please do not be confused. It's just na dapat alam mo yung mechanism of action ng substance for you to appreciate kapag nag-overdose ka or kapag naman bigla mo siyang ititigil. For the opioids, if we will immediately stop this, it may lead to what we call rebound hyperactivity. Now, for the rebound hyperactivity, pwedeng makaranas ng tachycardia, diaphoresis ang client natin. This could be the sympathetic rebound effects kasi wala na yung opioid suppression natin. Restlessness, tremors, yawning, and even piloerection may also be experienced, and these are the classic withdrawal signs. Ito kasi dahil sa overactive ng autonomic nervous system natin. Dilation of pupils because, of course, obviously, this is the opposite of the intoxication. For the body aches, rhinorrhea, and lacrimation, kasi nga, dahil bumalik yung pain sensitivity at nagkaroon ng autonomic imbalance. DNV or the diarrhea and vomiting, these are naman the gastrointestinal hyperactivity because the opioids normally slows the gut motility natin. Kaya, of course, the opposite effect niya, it could be the diarrhea and the vomiting. So remember, for the withdrawal part, everything speeds up and there is pain. So it hurts, guys. Again, I will repeat for you to recall withdrawal effects of opioids. Everything speeds up and it hurts. Hurts kasi nawala na yung nagko-control, nagsusuppress ng pain natin. So there could be hyperactive autonomic system and there could be painful signs and symptoms among our client. Now, when it comes to the dependent cycle, ibangga naman natin, dependent cycle using opioids. There could be an initial use, no, for the initial use, there could be an experience of pain relief. There could also be euphoria. For tolerance naman, the need for higher dose because we wanted the same effect. For the dependence, the body adapts. So, normal function when it comes to the controlling of pain, it will now rely on opioids. For the withdrawal, there could be a severe rebound symptoms kapag bigla natin tong itinigil. Kaya, again, everybody, when we talk about opioids, always remember, it slows down everything because it's controlling the pain. Nga lang, kapag nawala na, the body rebounds. So what will happen? It speeds up with pain. Now let's move on with hallucinogens. Hallucinogens, guys, these are substances, and this includes your lysergic acid or your diethylamide or LSD. We also have your mescaline psilocybin, or these are mushrooms pertaining to certain mushrooms, and your pencyclidine. Now, these are the substances that may lead to psychosis, brain damage, death, hypertensive crisis, hyperthermia, and seizure. When it comes to the management or the treatment, it depends on the type of the halogen. For LSD type of halogen, we have to lower the environmental stimuli. So, ibig sabihin, nurses, in lowering the environmental stimuli, it could be in the form of speaking slowly but clearly, or it could be in a low tone of voice. Um, Clients can benefit from taking anxiolytics or your anti-anxiety drugs. For the overdose of PCP naman, it could be advantageous if we'll do a gastric lavage because it helps by acidifying the urine to excrete the medication or to excrete the drug. For the hallucinogens naman, it's important that we are aware of this type of chemical or substance na hallucinogens, ang mechanism of action nito, once ingested or once inside our body, they can distort the perception of an individual by acting on the serotonin and dopamine receptors. So, ibig sabihin, ang nagiging resulta nito could be an alteration of the reality. Nagkakaroon ng presensya ng mga hallucinations, naaapektuhan ang moods, kaya nakakaranas ng mood swings, or even distortions of the sensory aspect ng isang tao or ng isang individual. Now, the intoxication, the effects, no, during the usage of hallucinogens, kapag gumagamit ng hallucinogens, pwedeng mag-lead into perceptual distortions. Ibig sabihin, nakakakita, nakakarinig, nararamdaman ang mga iba't ibang stimulus or stimuli na in reality, wala naman. Wala naman talaga. Hindi naman talaga nag-exist. There could be an impaired judgment. Even a psychomotor retardation may happen. This is a risky behavior dahil nga altered ang reality ng tao. It may also lead to pupil constriction, drowsiness, hypotension, and slurred speech because these are the physiologic slowing pero ang utak or ang isipan niya is hyperactive in imagination. So I will repeat, the mind is hyperactive when it comes to imagination. Bradypnea may also be experienced kasi minsan may mga cases that there is a respiratory depression lalo na if the type of halogen used is PCP. So take note of that. Bradypnea may only be evident if there is an overuse of PCP. Now, again, intoxication. Remember this, guys. Remember this, nursing students. Please write this down. Hallucinogens result or the intoxication effect of hallucinogens can lead to a mind is hyper, but the body is slow. Take note of that. Intoxication of hallucinogens, the mind is hyper, but the body is slow. There is a reality distortion, kaya delikado or it is dangerous when it comes to decision making. Now let's move on to withdrawal. Withdrawal is the after stopping the use or the intake of hallucinogens. Now, unlike your opioids or unlike your stimulants, hallucinogen doesn't usually cause classic physical signs and symptoms of withdrawal. More on a psychological rebound ang nangyayari dito. So take note of this. This is sometimes asked in your examinations. Out of all the substances that we're talking about pertaining to drug dependency, when with regards to the psychological rebound, it's only your hallucinogen. Hallucinogen. Now, tachycardia and diaphoresis could be an example of your sympathetic rebound. The restlessness and the dilation of the pupils could be the heightened autonomic activity. But for the body aches, rhinorrhea, lacrimation, diarrhea, and vomiting, could be an overlap with opioid-like withdrawal kasi nga autonomic imbalance pa din ang pinatutukuyan natin. Tremors, yawning, and piloerections could be the signs of nervous system hyperactivity naman. Now, for the withdrawal, it's more of the body becomes restless and the mind is unstable. More of a psychological than a physical dependence, but still delikado pa din ito. The dependence cycle for the hallucinogen. Initial use, of course, there is the curiosity. Ito na nagsisimula yung alteration in the perception. Kumbaga parang nagkakaroon na siya ng emotions or pakiramdam na gusto niyang mag-trip or like a trip. Nag, na, tawag ito, gusto niyang mag-trip or nagtitrip na siya kasi nga nagkakaroon na ng distortion with the perception of the person. For the tolerance, the patient, since nararanasan or naramdaman na niya yung mga epektong ito, yung alteration or distortion na ito, the person is now needing for a higher doses of hallucinogen for them to achieve the hallucinatory effect. Now, for the dependence naman, mostly psychological, mostly psychological cravings, but they are not strong physical dependence. And for the withdrawal aspect or for the withdrawal part, there could be presence of anxiety, restlessness, and all other autonomic symptoms. So again, remember, hallucinogens, this distorted the reality. Kapag wala na in the system of the person, the body reacts with restlessness and anxiety. Now let's move on to inhalants. Inhalants are gases or it could be liquids such as your butane, your paint thinner, your paint and wax removers, airplane glue, nail polish remover or yung acetone, and nitrous oxide. Of course, this could also damage the nervous system, may lead to death if hindi natin maagapan, but people or individuals may benefit with several treatment out of supportive management o kaya naman treatment or management that focuses on the affected areas. Now, inhalants, okay? Inhalants work or inhalants act because they are act in our body because they are volatile substances na nai-inhale natin. Ibig sabihin, mas mabilis yung pagpasok nila sa ating sistema, specifically in the respiratory system in our lungs. Na pag pumasok na yung particles or yung chemicals na ito sa ating baga, automatically dediretso to in our bloodstream. And then once it is already present in our bloodstream, it will now go up in our central nervous system, causing depression or causing alteration in the neurotransmitter activity. So take note of that mechanism of action. Now, ano nagiging resulta? Ano ang nagiging epekto? There could be short-lived na pakiramdam ng pasyente or ng tao ay nahahay siya, but there could also be disinhibition, pero ito very toxic sa ating utak, sa ating atay, sa ating kidneys, at lalong-lalo na sa ating puso. Now, for the intoxication, mabilis or immediate ang epekto nito. Kaya kapag gumagamit ng inhalant ang isang tao, that inhalation of the particles of these chemicals, automatically, it will go up to the vital organs. It may lead to enhancement of sexual pleasure or euphoria kasi nga nagkakaroon ng surge ng dopamine, na-high yung individual. The excitation plus may also lead to drowsiness, or it could be excitation, then it will be followed by drowsiness kasi nga by phasic effect, una na-hyper, tas biglang magka-crash. Or disinhibition and agitation, at ito, it suppresses kasi, or there is a suppression of the frontal lobe. Kaya nagiging risky yung behavior ng client or ng individual. Delirium and psychosis naman because these are the toxic effects sa utak. Hallucinations and confusion may also be present. So again, for the intoxication, remember this, short high, then crash. Bigla siya, kumbaga, naka-peak na nahahay ang pakiramdam niya. Then eventually, it slows down, bigla siyang magka-crash. Body is unstable, the mind is distorted. Remember that for inhalants. Now, for the withdrawal effect, after stopping use, no, kapag naging dependent na kasi yung client mo for this type of chemical at bigla nating in-stop, they may experience signs and symptoms such as irritability and agitation kasi nga imbalance ang neurotransmitters. There could be anxiety and mood change, mga klase ng psychological cravings dahil nga ang brain adapted to toxic stimulation. Headache and insomnia, rebound effect ng central nervous system, difficulty concentration kasi nga impaired ang cognition or cognitive impairment is present because of a neuronal damage. There is a neuronal damage. So for the withdrawal, what I want you guys to remember, there is a mind restless, body uncomfortable, more of a psychological and cognitive problem over physical concerns. Now, dependence cycle happen kasi nga for the initial use, what they experience, of course, there is the curiosity, a cheap high na naranasan nila. There could also need for more inhalant kasi nga yung effect, kaya pagdating sa tolerance, yan yung gusto nilang maranasan or mangyari. Dependence, so the brain adapts, craving develops. For the withdrawal, development of irritability, anxiety, and cognitive problems ang nanananasan ng patient or ng client natin. Now, let's move on to marijuana. Marijuana naman, well, generally, these are smoked, but they can also be ingested. Marijuana may be legally prescribed, especially in Western countries. But there are also places that marijuana may be legal without prescription. Ito rin tinatawag din nilang weeds, no? For long-term dependence, it may lead to lethargy, a motivation syndrome. It could also lead to difficulty concentrating, memory loss, or even possibly chronic respiratory disorders. Marijuana can be corrected to supportive therapy or management among those individuals known to be users of this type of substance or chemical. Now, for the marijuana works because there is an active compound within this substance or within this object or material. Ang active compound nito, yung tinatawag nating THC. THC stands for the tetrahydrocannabinol. So I will repeat, guys. Marijuana, kaya to included now in our drug dependency, no? It's because part of the active part of the active substance or active compound nito, the THC, which is the tetrahydrocannabinol, binds to the cannabinoid receptors in our brain. May mga cannabinoid receptors tayo sa utak natin and now causes alteration in our perception, in our mood, and in our coordination. Ano nagiging resulta kapag gumagamit ng marijuana ang isang tao? It relaxes our system. So, relaxation ang epekto. It heightened our sensations, but it also impaired memory and attention. Kaya nga kapag gumagamit ng marijuana, intoxication na nararanasan, it could heighten the sensations. Halimbawa, yung mga stimulus pertaining to colors, sounds, even yung panlasa, nagiging intense para sa tao. Nagkakaroon ng depersonalization episodes, yung bang feeling niya detached, no? Detached siya mula sa kanyang sarili o kaya minsan ang detachment niya is within the reality. Red eyes and dry mouth kasi nagkakaroon ng vasodilation and decreased salivary secretion. Increased appetite, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga munchies or yung this is out of the hypothalamic stimulation or yung bang anong tawag doon yung kain siya ng kain yan. Tachycardia, these are effects naman for the sympathetic activation. Now, for the intoxication, guys, for you to remember, it's more of the altered or alteration of senses plus body changes. Okay? So remember, that refers to the heightened sensations, red eyes, and the munchies. Now, for the withdrawal, kapag tinigil after dependence, no, yung marijuana, it leads to irritability and agitation because of the imbalanced serotonin and dopamine levels of your client. Remember, serotonin, the one that affects our mood. Anxiety and mood changes, these are the psychological rebound, disturbing dreams, no? The sleep cycle disruption. There is a sleep cycle disruption, headache because of a rebound effect sa central nervous system natin. Now, remember for the withdrawal, nurses, the mind restless, the mood is unstable. It's more of a psychological than physical effects, but still significant pa din ito. The dependent cycle for the initial use, ang posibleng experience or naranasan ng client natin could be relaxation, it could be curiosity or the heightened senses, leading to tolerance, kaya mas naghahanap or nagkikrave pa sila ng additional doses or additional quantity of marijuana to achieve the same effect. And for the dependence, the brain adapts, kaya nagkakaroon ng development ng cravings. And for the withdrawal, yung mga nabanggit nga natin, signs and symptoms, will now be manifested. So, guys, for you to remember all about marijuana, marijuana heightened the senses. Always remember yung namumulang mata. Munchies class will be present. And for the withdrawal effects of marijuana, There could be irritability, anxiousness, and yung disturbing dreams or yung bad dreams, nightmares na nararanasan ng tao. So take note that ha, kapag yung pamumulang mata, it's only within the marijuana. Not because namumula yung mata ng classmate mo or ng friend mo or ng peer mo, automatic, may kinalaman na sa marijuana. Baka irritated lang, okay? Check on that part as well. Assess it properly. Now, apart from all those important substances and chemicals na napag-usapan natin, in our generation, there are also now identified other recreational or yung tinatawag na mga club drugs. Drugs na ginagamit madalas young adults, no? Sometimes there are also adolescents already oriented or already familiar with this group of medication, group of substance. Kasama dito yung mga tinatawag nating ecstasy, crack, MDMA. MDMA, that stands for your methylene dioxymethamphetamine. Ulitin ko, MDMA stands for methylene dioxymethamphetamine. It could also be crystal meths or even ketamine. Yun yung mga identified party drugs kung tawagin. Of course, the effect of these party drugs or club drugs, it gives or it leads to euphoria, it increased energy, it increased self-confidence, increased sociability. Ngayon, yung mga party drugs na to, maraming iba't ibang types nito can lead or can cause harmful effects. So, itong mga illegal street drugs can cause harmful effects. And us nurses, we have to be knowledgeable about the several physiological effects nito. And we have to recognize the signs associated with the utilization of these chemicals. At kailangan prepared tayo to provide an immediate, especially emergency management. Adverse effects that may happen to individual taking these types of substance could be hyperthermia. It could also lead to what we call rhabdomyolysis. What is rhabdomyolysis? It's a life-threatening condition, guys. And here, the affected part of the body are the muscle tissues. Nagkakaroon ng breakdown. And then, once nag-breakdown yung muscle tissues, toxic substances will now be released. At saan siya pupunta? In our bloodstream. So, magsa-circulate yung toxic substances in different cells, tissues, or organ natin. It may lead to kidney failure. It may also cause hepatotoxicity. For psychological aspects, it may result to depression or sometimes panic attacks. Now, other adverse effects could be psychosis, cardiovascular collapse, or even worst scenarios such as death. Now, for the treatment of your recreational or club drug dependency, programs, especially for addiction, may be beneficial. Kasama na dito yung nicotine withdrawal. For the psychopharmacology part, there are individuals nagbe-benefit sila by using nicotine patch or by taking nicotine inhalers. But others may prescribe bupropion. Bupropion is a medication that will help reduce withdrawal symptoms and the cravings. So take note of that. And of course, psychotherapy, that includes individual therapy, group therapy, family therapy, pwede din mag-benefit out of support groups. Ayan. For the anabolic steroids, anabolic steroids, we have to be very careful on this one, especially yung paggamit nito. Kasi nowadays, there are people, no, misuse this type of chemical. Ano ba yung anabolic steroids na to? Yung anabolic steroids, guys, these are synthetic forms of testosterone. Madalas ginagamit ito ng mga nagjo-gym, mga athletes, mga bodybuilders. Ito, guys, yung type or klase ng steroids na ginagamit nila to increase their muscle mass para mas mag-improve yung performance nila. Nga lang, hindi nagiging maayos yung paggamit ng anabolic steroids natin. So, dahil nga they wanted to have a bigger muscles or mas maging maliksi sila or maganda yung maging performance nila, napapadami yung dosages nila kaya nagkakaroon ng risk for heart diseases, liver damage, and because this is a synthetic form of testosterone, nagkakaroon ng hormonal imbalance. Sometimes, no, this type of drugs prescribed for medical conditions like hypogonadism o kaya mga certain cancers, benefits, nagkakaroon ng benefit doon. Nga lang nga, yung iba, hindi maganda or hindi maayos ang paggamit, kaya nagkakaroon ng negative effects. Now, what will be the nurse's interventions when it comes to withdrawal? Withdrawal of all those substance use. Of course, number one, always remember your seizure precaution. Seizure class, hindi siya mangyari. I mean, because the part of the body affected, no, kapag dating sa substance use, brain activity can be manifested through seizure attacks. Kaya dapat nurses, we are competent on how to attend, on how to immediately address seizure episodes among clients. Hydrate the client. Monitor the vital signs. Hanggat maaari, it must be every hour. Not only the vital signs, but nurses, you also have to closely check the cardiac monitor, diagnostic tests such as cardiac markers, and even ECG because your clients are at risk in developing a cardiac damage. Monitor the intake and output. Orient the client frequently because there could be distortion or alteration of their perception affecting the psychological aspect of your client. Maintain minimal stimuli. Approach the client in an accepting, and always remember this, accepting and non-judgmental manner. Direct focus to the substance use problem. Assess the client with recognizing situations that precipitate anger or feelings. Because the substance use disorder is always associated with big emotions sa mga clients natin. Assist the client to deal with emotions. Limit placing blame. So wag tayong nagpi-pinpoint why this thing happened to them or why this happened in their lives. We can also use assertive techniques, especially kapag nagkakaroon na ng mga unacceptable behavior ang client natin. Assertive techniques is recommended over manipulation or manipulative strategies to attend to the needs of the client. Set limits on manipulative behavior and kung mayroong physical or verbal abuse. Maintain firm and reasonable limits. Hold the client accountable for all of his or her behaviors. Assist the client to explore strengths and weaknesses. Encourage the client to focus on strengths if the client is losing control. We can also encourage them to participate in activities, yung mga psychotherapies na nabanggit natin kanina, even their support groups. Nakakatulong to sa kanila. Now, there is what we call a dual diagnosis. Dual diagnosis is also associated with substance use disorder. Now, dual diagnosis refers to kapag may psychiatric disorder and substance use disorder, both present sa isang tao, sa isang individual. Now, ang nangyayari dito, separate diagnosis can only be done over time after a sustained period of abstinence mula dun sa paggamit niya ng pinagbabawal na gamot or whatever substance or chemicals na napag-usapan natin kanina. That's what dual diagnosis is all about. But there are also addiction and substance use in healthcare professionals. Guys, we're not exempted to the rule, no? We're not exempted to this type of life event. Nurses, doctors, and all other allied healthcare professionals are also human beings. Natatempt din tayo. Nagkakaroon din tayo ng cravings. May mga tinatawag din tayong dark side or sometimes, no, nauuwi or nalilid din tayo into negative situations of our lives, committing unacceptable behavior. And that is also referring to addiction to certain chemicals or substance na nabanggit natin kanina. Common is the alcohol, or worst case scenario, there are healthcare professionals because of their access to certain chemicals or drugs like opioids. Minsan, we're using them, no, out of our role, out of our responsibility. So what are we going to do? Number one, frequently reporting that drugs have been wasted without being witnessed by another nurse. Pwedeng yan daw yung isa sa mga suspicious sign na makita natin among our colleagues. Palagi daw nagre-report na waste na yung drugs or waste na, let's say for example, morphine or fentanyl or any forms of your opioid, pwedeng ganon. Nire-report niya na waste na yung substance or yung drugs, pero wala namang naging witness na talagang na-waste yung chemical or yung drug. Second suspicious act, it could be reporting the administration of maximum dosage of controlled substance. Kumbaga, maximum dose or dosage yung ibinigay niya sa client, pero ito naman, maikukumpara natin dun sa kanyang kasamahan or dun sa kanyang colleague na hindi naman nag-a-administer ng maximum doses. So, kumbaga, maibabangga natin dun sa mga reports raised, no, by other nurses. The third suspicious sign could be a variance in usual pain relief in their clients in the absence of change in dosage of frequency of administration. Ibig sabihin, there could be cases, let's say for example, surgical ward. Surgical ward, you're handling post-operative clients. When you say post-operative, well, obviously there are surgical wounds, post-operative wounds na there will be clients complaining of pain, pero minsan, the painkiller that they are requesting are the controlled medications. Let's say morphine. Ayan. Tapos ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng difference, no? Kumbaga, wala nangyayaring pagbabago dun sa tindi ng sakit na nararanasan ng client. But in the documentation, merong madalas at paulit-ulit at significant dosage ng administration na naka-report or naka-document. But the client themselves, hindi nila talaga to totally na-receive. Or it could be problems pertaining to work patterns. Halimbawa, lagi siyang nagpo-volunteer na siya yung magha-handle ng mga narcotics, gaya nga ng opioids natin. So, pwedeng suspicious na yan, lalo na kung merong episodes na in the past yung colleague natin. It could be a nurse, it could be a doctor, or it could be someone working with us in the unit or in the hospital or institution. Other work pattern changes could be choosing shift in which konti lamang yung mga supervisors or what do you call this, nurses above us. I mean, those people, who are part of the administration, let's say chief nurse, head nurse, mga ganyan, or sometimes mga bossing natin, ayan. So, mas gusto nilang mag-shift or gusto nilang mag-attend or magtrabaho sa shift na wala masyadong mag-overrule sa kanila or magsusupervise sa kanila. Choosing work areas where the use of controlled substance is high. Kagaya sa mga unit natin, no? Going back to bedside, in ICU or in ICU or intensive care unit, or in other institution, we also have what we call CCU or critical care unit, also OR, operating room, trauma units or trauma department, and where the anesthesia are being kept or dun sa preparation of the anesthesia, mas pinipili nilang magtrabaho sa mga ganung area because they are knowledgeable that all those controlled medications are being kept, are being locked in those units. Very seldom kasi guys that these controlled substances are left in the station or are left in the medical ward, OB ward, ganon. Nurses have a professional and ethical obligation to report an impaired coworker. It's our responsibility to heads up our supervisor, our chief nurse, our head nurse, even the human resource department, kung nakikita na natin itong mga suspicious signs na to in our colleagues. Impaired nurses naman, if, let's say for example, you're now a known impaired nurse, you're now a known substance use client, you're a nurse diagnosed with a substance use disorder, known addict, as simple as that. There are policies, protocols, rules and regulation, guidelines, and even laws covering us as well. I mean that we have to follow, that we have to adhere. May mga tinatawag na mga return to work policies tayo na what will be the guides or what will be the protocol a certain registered nurse must follow para makabalik siya sa trabaho. May iba naman nagkakaroon ng mga assistance to monitoring programs, basta depende kung ano yung sinasabi ng bansa na pinagtatrabahuan natin as a registered nurse, depende sa state ng kung saan tayo registered. Basta nurses, healthcare professionals must adhere to the screening, ruling, and what the legislation is telling us in particularly to substance use disorder. Because at the end of the day, we are the professionals na kung saan nakarely yung mga taong may sakit, taong nangangailangan ng tulong, and how can we provide the care that they need kung high na high tayo in our shift. Okay? And dito po nagtatapos ang ating lecture, particularly to the substance use disorders. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, you may send it to my email address acdemesa@fatima.edu.ph. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I am able to explain in every detail and the most easiest way to understand this part or this topic in psychiatric and mental health nursing. Maraming salamat po till our next lecture po. Bye for now!